Hello, wonderful people. How's it going? Oh, it feels good to be back podcasting. It has been what feels like a little while. Not too long, really, but, these conversations bring me such value, such joy, such energy. And it's just so great to learn about all the amazing things that are happening in our community that, I want them to be a regular feature of my life. So, without further ado, let's jump back into things. Today, I'm incredibly unfortunate? No, I don't think so. I think I'm very, very fortunate to be joined by the wonderful Joe Mitton. Now, Joe is the leader or the founder of Mittfit and is a health and wellness expert who loves to dabble in a bit of public speaking. He has helped tens of thousands of people bring changes into their life that relates to exercise or to nutrition or to mindfulness. His company, Mittfit, provides 45-minute outdoor sessions that support both men and women. And this community that's been built through Mittfit is now really starting to see the impact of the consistency that he's been putting into this project. And that hard work certainly paid off in the lockdown window, where he started to be recognized nationally and internationally, leading to people joining the Mittfit community beyond just the UK. Now, he's been seen on things such as BBC, he's been seen in things such as Men's Health or Reebok, and I can, go on to list a number of different things. But, I am so extremely grateful to see that the work that he's doing is so deep-rooted in supporting those that are around him at all ages. And we're going to be diving into loads of that. So, without further ado, my name is Will Brocklebank, and this is a Serotonin session. My man, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Well, man, to be honest, it's actually, you've called it a bit of a special moment as well, where I've tried to move to a new place. Sort of the setup is sort of changing as time goes along. So, I think what's most importantly, though, is that I just want to make sure that, we're in the right space for us to be able to have like a full-blown conversation, because man, I've in preparation actually for a previous project, so for Social Strides. Shout out to Will Morris for this, by the way. But he passed on your name to me, and then I started going into the research of what you do and what you're involving yourself in, and the reasons behind why you do certain things, man. And it's truly inspirational. So I'm very, very grateful for you being here, man.
Thank you.
Now, something that I know you did, or when you were growing up, it was Chesterton Community College. Am I right? That you went to. Now, I'm not from Cambridge originally, but now just through teaching, I'm getting to know some of the schools in the local area. But sort of in relation to your pathway for Mittfit and sort of your maybe direction into just the personal training and sort of health and wellness world, was it your experiences at school that sort of led to that, or was it something that ended up happening post-school?
School was a big influence on sport. Chesterton were very heavy on sport, which was always good. There was always rugby, football, a lot of basketball. I remember we used to have playgrounds which we had to go to, but quite often they would let us play basketball in the hall at break times because we were on the team. So rather than saying, no, you can't play, they would say, yeah, go use the hall. So we would be playing basketball or football every single lunchtime. We were playing every single team, and it was the same kind of group of us that played for every team, the rugby team, the football team. And then obviously there was external influences from my family at the time to go into other sports. My dad played squash growing up, which I really got into at that age. Yeah, and that led me on to then wanting to try the gym. They had the gym at Chesterton Sports Centre had the funding from the lottery while I was there, so they really did up the school. I remember doing swimming lessons there when I was really young, and it's changed completely. So then obviously having the gym on site, we started then to use the gym in PE lessons. We'd use the pool for swimming. We obviously had football, then the AstroTurf came. So there was an abundance of sporting activities just at secondary school, let alone what I was doing outside and external influences. So that was a big part in it. But then it was more so when I got to college where I realised maybe university wasn't for me. That was always the plan. Parents like school, college, uni, that was always the plan. And I got to college and I was like, I like learning about what I like learning about. And obviously the more in depth we went into it, I did A-level biology, but there was only one topic which took 2 weeks, which was what I actually wanted to learn about. and the rest was plants and ecosystems and stuff, which quite frankly, I don't really want to learn about. That's not really what I was interested in. So then I kind of realized to get what I want from life, it wasn't really going to go down that typical pathway, but that definitely started with a high amount of sport at Chesterton and a range of sports as well.
I think that's what you sometimes can be very fortunate with when you're a student is, you know, if there's a certain influx of funding at a particular time, or, you know, more importantly, if there's an ethos there that's sort of driving that sort of sense of sport. And I imagine gaining the fitness suite sort of partway through sort of your time there would be really an influential thing. So I think there was a set of year gaps between your time at school, if I'm right in saying, before then moving into actually launching Mittfit. Am I right in saying, or was it very instantaneous?
Well, I left school at 16, went and did A levels at Long Road. But before I started, I knew I was going to do 3 years for the course I did. In my second year, I met a guy. Well, he was next to me in psychology. And it's always a funny story because sometimes, I won't say who it was, but sometimes we'd be in college and I'd be like, oh, you come into the lesson? And he'd be like, no. And I'm like, why are you in college if you're not going to go to the lessons? And I was sat next to him after Easter and I was like, oh, how was your Easter holidays? He said, oh, I spent the 2 weeks on a course. And I'm thinking, this is a guy that won't even go to lesson when he's on site. Why has he spent 2 weeks doing a course? So I said, what was it? And he said, I was a level 2 fitness instructor. And I was like, what is that? And he said it's how you get taught basically how to work in a gym and how to show people kit and stuff. So I looked into it, and because I was under 19 at the time, it was only £99 for the course. So I asked my parents if I could do it. There was a 2-week stint in August during my summer holidays where I spent 2 weeks going to CRC. I only live on Milton Road, so it was like a 10-minute cycle, not even that. Spent 2 weeks, 9 to 5 doing that. Kind of lied to my parents and said it was going to be a backup, when really I knew that's what I wanted to do. And I kind of, when everyone else was looking at universities and doing their CAS, I can't remember what it's called.
The CAP applications.
Yeah. I didn't do anything. Like, they went all around the country looking at universities with my sister. I didn't look at one. I didn't really see the interest in that. And then finished college straight away, got a job in a gym. The day I picked up my A-level results was the day I had the interview. Got the job there. And they said, like, if you get the job, we'll do your level 3 for you. So my level 2 and level 3, all in all, actually only cost me £99, which was brilliant.
Ooh,
yeah,
okay.
Very good. And the level 3 was obviously while I was working in a gym. So I was doing fitness sessions, I was doing gym programs, I was working with people, learning kind of the tricks of the trade. And there was personal trainers there that were very busy. And I said to them, like, how have you got where you are? And they told me the steps. They went to David Lloyd, they did this, they did that. So then I started applying for and having interviews at David Lloyd's around the country before I'd even qualified as a level 3. I went down to Chigwell, had one in Fulham, had one in Cambridge, interviews, kind of just really wanted to get there. Then I went to David Lloyd to learn how to be a PT. And then I decided, right, okay, I know what I want to do now, how I want to run the business. And then I launched when I was 22.
I mean, a standout thing for me there is that interaction that you had with those that were around you and saying, you know, how did you actually build this following? And there's always such power in having those conversations on a localized level. And you know, as you then do experience it, you move to certain other places and there's other demands and stuff. But those initial conversations are really important, which probably, you know, in some way shaped sort of the approach that you took to certain things. But specifically with Mittfit, because I'm sure that you've had, you know, a number of your own experiences of fitness and physical activity. I'm sure that you've now worked with enough clients and different people to know what, you know, you want to try and create. But what do you consider to be sort of your main pillars for Mittfit? What do you want people to finish their time with you? And hopefully it's just, you know, extended, it's just ongoing. Yeah. But at the end of their time working with you, what are you hoping to have imparted knowledge-wise or anything else on the person that you're working with?
Primarily, it was always the understanding that fitness can be fun. Obviously, like, as I said, at school, I did so much sport. And it was that kind of age and that time, like there was only maybe one or two girls that really were into PE. It wasn't, they do, especially, I mean, the girls have just won the Euros, do you know what I mean, for England, which is incredible.
Shout out, man,
the Lionesses, which is mad, it's amazing. And that kind of just really signifies how much we do need to encourage girls to get into sport as well. But that wasn't really there at school, and it was very apparent. And kind of I wanted to showcase that fitness can be fun. because fitness has been my everything. How would you have fun at the weekend? I'd go play football and I'd go watch football, or I'd go squash, or I'd go swimming. And so fitness was such a big part of my life. Always had. All of the friends I have, all of the best memories I have been derived from some sort of sport or fitness. So primarily the goal for Mittfit was to create a fun, engaging space that allowed people of all shapes, sizes, ages, abilities to kind of come together and work out and have a good time. So kind of building that community, having the education there as well to help people better understand themselves, how they move, and actually kind of piece together what it is they want to achieve, but in a safe environment. Because obviously, as good as school is for education, it's not for everyone. And I kind of learned that the hard way. It wasn't how I wanted to learn, but you do just have to get on with it, and you do have to do it, which that is just life. So I kind of wanted to create a space where people can learn what they want to learn, achieve the results that they want to achieve, but do it in a safe, controlled environment where it's more of a family than it is anything else.
It's a recognition of that community, really, isn't it? It's that sense that, in a community, it's often made up of unique individuals who, aren't always sharing the same common goal. And obviously there's ways in which people that are maybe going down very specific routes that they can sort of go with. And I know that, as a personal trainer, you do sort of allow that to happen in sort of one-to-one settings, but that, the power of community in those big social situations and bringing people together for those boot camps is pivotal. And sort of reading through some of the testimonials of Mittfit, and I mean, there's plenty of them, I'm not going to lie, it's quite amazing, really. But, one of the common themes beyond, actually loving the workouts and stuff that they do is that sort of the personality and that personability that comes from you specifically, actually. So, from your perspective, what do you see sort of your role is for your clients inside and outside of sort of the setting of Mittfit? And has there been sort of maybe a scenario where you've maybe adjusted something that you're doing based upon, the supporting of one particular individual, and that's then led to maybe a larger change in another aspect of Mittfit?
Yeah, for sure. I always say to anyone when they start, like this, it may be a group workout, but this is for you. If you don't want to do an exercise, if you want to change it, if you want to work. One of our clients, he said to me recently, he's been with me for 4 years. He's like, I feel like I'm really fit and I'm really strong, but my shoulders are quite weak. So I've started adding more shoulder workouts to the sessions. But alternatively, women don't particularly want big shoulders. So I say, we've got the barbell, we've got the squat rack, do shoulders. But if you don't want to, we can do Romanian deadlifts, we can do squats. There are other ways that you can work different body types using the same bit of kit. So there is that flexibility there straight away. And one of the clients she did one-to-one sessions for a bit during lockdown. But once that kind of came out of lockdown, she was then unable to do it because of timings. But she said that she really enjoyed the heavy lifting. So I've started to kind of put the heavy compounds back in for her, and everyone else is loving it. Then all of a sudden people are saying, well, I want to lift heavier, or I want to try a bench press. And you've got women that were petrified of a bench press, then lying down with the bar and smashing out 10, 15 reps on a 20 kilo barbell, and then putting 5s on each side and then going again. And that's just kind of like changed their life forever. And it's changed mine as well. I didn't really I wasn't holding back for them. I was just kind of like, didn't want to scare them. And then they kind of demanded it. And I just said, look, I'll just stand here. You do it. I'll be here with you. And they just literally smashed it out and started repping the bar. And I'm thinking, God, probably should have done that 6 months ago.
But I think that being able to take lessons from those aspects of practice, right, that's what leads to creating a community and a reason for people to keep coming back. And something that was really quite amazing as I was sort of going through my research was sort of certainly the lockdown window. I mean, there was a lot that it showed me about you. One of which was that ability and willingness to pivot a business idea to work with the times. I thought that was very, very impressive. But when you were in that lockdown window, you didn't want to give up all of the classes. You didn't want to stop everything to do with Mittfit. You actually sort of stepped up to the plate, really. And if we focus in specifically on the actual online workouts, so it led to you sort of leading some online workouts, and that then actually got picked up nationally, and then eventually into an international sort of situation, which is Absolutely mind-blowing, man. So, I mean, with that though, you know, were there some lessons that you had to really learn from when, you know, that quite large growth happened? And, you know, specifically for yourself, do you feel that maybe has changed either a pillar or like a vision aspect of what you wanted to do with Mittfit?
I was always aware that the goal has always been for me to be the best in the world. That is, I want to be the best at everything I do. And as long as I know that I don't have to be the best in the world, but as long as I know that I gave my 100%, I could be the worst in the world. But if I sit there and say, look, I gave my best, that's all I can do. And I guess that kind of, the online side of things was always in the back of my mind, which is how I was able to pivot so quickly compared to anyone else, because there's a funny story behind that as well, because I was already kind of preparing for that anyway, in order to help the masses. But one of my first ever mentors said to me that a lot of people do online training, but they need to spend years in the field first, doing tens of thousands of hours of working with people, which I had that under my belt. I had at least 10,000 hours of sessions under my belt by the time. So when you're in, although one of the clients was in Jordan at the time, we're doing a session online, it doesn't matter where they are in the world, I can still coach them through, whether I can see them or not. I know the coaching points, I know the cues. Whereas typically now a lot of people are trying to jump onto online training straight away, but they have zero real world experience. It's like obviously trying to be a teacher on Zoom when you've never actually been in a classroom with any kids. It's not really going to be as easy as it might be if you've got 10 years experience in a classroom to go onto Zoom. It's like, well, I've done this before. So kind of, yeah, that was always in the plans anyway. And COVID kind of obviously forced that upon us. And you said, yeah, like I was never going to back down. I ended up tripling down. We went from 8 or 9 sessions a week to 2 sessions a day, morning and evening, except for a Saturday night where we did a quiz night instead. And Sunday mornings we had yoga. So we ended up doing 2 sessions a day. And one of the clients who's still with me now did every single session with me.
Every single session?
I think it was 262 sessions or something we did during the first lockdown. Yeah. And
wow. Yeah. Okay. Wow.
She did every single one.
That's a tall standing. That is a tall standing. So whoever that is, shout out to you. That is a ridiculous amount. But yeah, so it's interesting you say that then, that, you know, that you almost were mentally prepared for that specific scenario to come along. And was maybe that transition any different to what you thought? Was there sort of maybe requirements or expectations that came with that maybe you weren't initially anticipating, which could have maybe had a positive or negative influence? Or was it relatively down the line you sort of knew it was coming?
The way I've always run Mittfit has always been communication with the clients. What do you guys want? What do you guys need? When do you want the sessions? Is there anything else I can do? So it was really just a case of just answering their questions. We want it at this time, done. We want it on these days, done. Can we have actually the quiz night was my idea, but can we have an expert to come in and talk about this topic? So we had a girl come on board and talk about the menopause and stuff, which obviously that's not my expertise. Whereas a lot of the women they are of that age. So to have a female come in and speak about that was kind of, there you go, guys, let's have some education there for you, which actually a few people definitely learn off. She talks about the menopause, but she also talks about the menstrual cycle and all those kind of things. So it was very much looking at, like, I just put it to my clients, say, what do you want? How can I be the best coach? And one thing I actually did, the Saturday we found out that it was going into lockdown, I messaged everyone. I was in the change rooms of football, and one of the boys was like, oh, Mitton, you can't go to work on Monday. And I was like, what? And I looked at the article, and I basically sent a message to the guy, said, right, 9 a.m. till 11 a.m. tomorrow, I'm going to be at the lockup. Come get a piece of kit and a mat. We're online as of Monday morning. It was literally as quickly as that. And then on the Sunday, I sorted all the kit out, and I spent all day sending a personalized video to each and every client. And I kind of specifically used their name so they knew it was for them. I'd be like, oh, hey, Ben, thank you so much for being a part of Mittfit. Obviously, we go online Monday. We've never done this before. We don't know what's going to happen. Can you please tell me what you want from me and what you don't want from me? So then I had a shed load of information there of exactly what my clients wanted. So it was just a case of filling in the blanks and just kind of doing that, which made my job so much easier because I wasn't stabbing in the dark hoping to find a winning formula. They gave me what they wanted.
And it's that expansion again, isn't it, on community and connection. with the online element, so that obviously became quite a large feature. But I think it's safe to say that your bread and butter comes from in-person sort of training sessions. Has there been any legacy left over from that lockdown window, which has sort of led you to keep an online aspect, or is that something that you've now sort of moved away from again?
No, we still do 3 Zooms a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday mornings, 7:30 to 8 in the morning. We still have a few clients that jump on that are from kind of London, Essex, and a few other places. The biggest reason for the explosion during COVID was a lot of clients who had family around the world, and a lot of people everyone was in lockdown. Like if it was just a national thing, I don't think it would have gone as well as it did. It was the fact that the world was on lockdown. So then all of a sudden, everyone was looking for something to do. And it was just about kind of twisting their arm to kind of face them towards what I was doing.
Do you know, I never actually thought about that in the sense of families who have got people from all over the world, and actually these exercise classes forming a way in which, you're creating those social connections when maybe you wouldn't have had that before. I've never actually thought about that even being in so many other contexts I have, if like with the quizzes and things like that, but with exercise classes, more specifically with family members and friends coming involved, I imagine that was actually quite a special experience really for everyone that was involved.
Yeah, it was. And then having like one of the clients, her sister was in America. And then her sister came down. Unfortunately, we didn't get to meet. But then, I've met one of my clients. He's Turkish, and he lives here and has done for years. His family worked with me during lockdown. One's in America, one was in Turkey, and they've actually come over to visit and then come to the group sessions. So then you see this person that you've only ever seen on a screen and spoken to is there then in the flesh, and and you already had that relationship with them. So it was quite nice being able to transition from. And when client, like that same client, his sister-in-law's just stayed with him for a month, and she came to the workouts for the whole month, kind of thing. So it really kind of bridges that gap. And I just say to my clients, if you ever have family visiting, just bring them along, like just bring them down to the sessions.
And completely the right thing to do as well. And it's great that you're still running Zoom calls or sort of Zoom workouts and things going forward, because I think that there is still that desire at certain points, right, to be able to have access to it, even if you can't come into the physical space. But I imagine having the physical element back was a real positive for you. But something that I've maybe started to see, certainly with all the bits that I've sort of read across with Mittfit, and then for yourself specifically, is that sort of real passion and love of collaboration and working with other people, either from a business standpoint or from maybe a more societal, more social sort of a social call, more to say. And there's a couple of collaborations and a couple of things that you've done that I'd love to just find out a little bit more about. There's one that we sort of spoke about just before we started recording, just because there was a kerfuffle on one of the days. Oh, kerfuffle! Wow,
kerfuffle. Okay. What a word!
What a word! Okay, I'll take that. But when I first heard about it, this was actually more to do towards the sort of the lockdown window. So I think this has been a legacy project that maybe that's carried over for quite a while. But you sort of work to provide educational workshops to schools. You work to provide actual nutritional support to people in different camps, and all of it sort of it seems to feed through what you're doing at Mittfit. And before I maybe dive into how we came about the food side of things, what made you decide that you wanted to work in the education sector, or come in and talk to younger people in comparison to sticking to just sort of fully grown adults?
One rule I've always had for myself since I became a personal trainer is if you ever meet a PT, ask them why they got in the game. They always say, I love helping people, yet they only do it when they're getting paid. So I have this rule where if you're going to tell people that you got in the game to help, you can't only do it when you're charging for it. And it's kind of like, whether you pay me nothing or whether you pay me £1 billion, the knowledge I'm going to give you is the exact same. So obviously what people are paying for when they come to the boot camps and the personal training is your time. They're paying for that setup there. Whereas if I'm going into a school and I'm speaking to 200 kids, that's 200 kids that I can positively impact to lead a healthier, happier, better life for themselves. I don't need a tangible reward from that. This isn't some kind of virtue signaling. This is not an ego boost for me. This is, I have the knowledge. They want to learn. Like, I did a talk yesterday, and I was saying to one of the guys today, that's the best group I've ever had, because they listened, they put their hands up, they were engaging, they genuinely want to learn. They want to learn. Like, if I'm telling them protein will help them grow muscles, which helps them kick a ball harder, they want that. So they're listening and say, I eat fish, I eat tuna, I like steak. And they're then kind of having that conscious thought then around what they're eating. And it's just about, like, a lot of people moan about stuff, but then don't kind of contribute to a solution. And obviously, like, I have 2 chronic illnesses, so I do spend a lot of time in and out of hospital and stuff like that. And obviously there are significant wait times and there is a lot of pressure. And my mum's been in the NHS for over 35 years, so I've seen it on a personal level in multiple ways. And it's kind of like one of the easiest ways, or probably not easiest, maybe one of the quickest ways we can reduce the impact on the NHS is simply by being a healthier nation. Well, I have the means to do that. And through Zoom and through the world we live in now, I have the accessibility to do that as well. I recently did a talk to 500 kids at a school in Peterborough from my bedroom. Do you know what I mean? And we just zoomed it in, and every single class got involved, and they were in their class and they were putting their hands up, and I was asking them questions, and we did key stage 1 and then we did key stage 2. So I could adjust the talk slightly to obviously speak to the older age groups. And there we go, within 2 hours, I'd helped 500 kids. And then I just went about my day as if it never happened. But for them, they'll always remember that. So it's about making a positive impact and actually being part of the solution, and not sat there being like, oh, I've got to go to the hospital. They've given me a 2-week wait list for my procedure. It's like, I can actually reduce that down because I have a way to do that. So I always like to be part of the solution and not just contribute to the problem. So that's where it stems from.
I mean, a massive respect to you for doing that for free. And again, I definitely get that sentiment that I think that from a business perspective, you know, at the end of the day, it is a business. So there needs to be specific things within it that will generate revenue to allow that to carry over. But I think at the same time, if you're deep rooted truly in that concept of community, well-being, supporting those that are around you, there needs to be maybe scope within your own existence to engage in some volunteering or to do some of these things for free, because I think that's where you get sort of the realist sense of what someone is about and why obviously Mittfit at the moment is being so successful. Coming back to that personalized aspect from yourself is that, you know, you're not there to just make money. That's just not where your head even remotely is. It's more about creating experiences, scenarios where people can better themselves in one way, shape or form. So I mean, I think it's great that you went into schools to do that, because I think I'm intrigued to see how you found communicating with kids versus adults. Was that a bit of a weird learning curve?
Funnily enough, the kids are more receptive.
Yeah,
because they sit there and they go, you're the adult, I'm the kid, I listen to you. Whereas the adults, everyone knows how to lose weight, like eat less, move more. It's such a simple concept, but it's not that simple, and you have to break down the nitty gritty and really get into like the emotional side of it, the psychological side of it. Whereas with kids, they sat there like, yeah, I'll listen, you're bigger than me. Like, it's as simple as that. And actually,
sometimes,
well, I only do 15-minute talks. So this is not my full-time job.
Yeah, no, man, I get.
But I'm coming in as an external source, and I've got Mittfit on my brand, on my jumper, and it's on the slideshow. And I'm 6'1", so like these kids are like 7 and 8, so I am a lot bigger than them. And obviously the teachers do it, and the people running the sessions do a great job at saying, "This is Joe. He's coming in off his own time to talk." So there is very much that kind of initial level where they are just going to listen, and but also they want to listen as well, not because it's me, but because they want to learn about food.
100%.
Because everyone, and I said to the kids yesterday, I was like, the first thing I say is, why do we need food? And it's like, oh, to live, to survive. So they understand the basic concept. It's like, yeah, but we can actually eat certain things and kind of direct a result that we want from that as well. And giving them that understanding, yesterday I was in the talk this was for Norwich City Regional Development. There are going to be lads and girls there that are in academy setups, even at 7 or 8. So they're going to be thinking, I want to get better. I want to get better. So just kind of giving them that platform is Yeah, and so that's a very long-winded way of saying the children listen better sometimes.
They do. I think that there is such power in introducing those conversations at that particular age group, as long as, you know, we're carefully considering the way in which that information is presented, right? Because there was a unit, a nutrition unit that I wrote when I was in school for the students to use, and we did it this year. We'd run it a few times before, you know, really happy with the outcomes. But it's interesting, we did a bit of feedback or evaluation of it this time, and you can see that in the use of some bits of language, there is still like there's a bit of a juggling process or a bit of a grey area in how students perceive certain things. But I think without us being willing to have those types of conversations, even if it is from just a sporting perspective in the first instance, you know, the benefits of what that can mean in that sense, you know, I think, I mean, I'm certainly all for it. I think that's the direction that we need to be going. But speaking of food, sort of coming back to your sort of the funded meals, the scheme that you ended up launching through Mittfit, and I'm presuming with some other organisations. Who did you have to collaborate with in order to bring that about? And, you know, why was it that particular thing? Was it based off your willingness to talk about nutrition in your talks that made you want to run that sort of scheme?
So I was running boot camps for Cambridge United Community Trust. We used to run just one on a Wednesday, which I ran off my own back. It was to get people in the Barnwell area to kind of get active and get out. And I've always said to Vicky Neal, who I was liaising with, she knows me from when she was at a school before, and I've said, like, just get me in front of as many people as possible. All I care about is helping people. That's all I want to do. So she's kind of said to me, like, oh, we've got this half camp, we do a talk. And I was like, yeah, I'll do a talk, whatever. I did it. This was still actually during lockdown, the first one. I did the talk, recorded it, sent her it, and she absolutely loved it. So then I did another talk, and at the time I didn't really know what half camp was. I just kind of was like, okay, it's a talk, I'll do it, it's for kids, whatever. And then I went into a meeting with a company earlier this year about potential collaborations with sessions and education, and I mentioned that I was starting a meal prep company, and one of the guys then said, oh, would you provide our meals for half camps? And I was like, yeah, but I don't really know what that means. So I kind of went away for the next month, and literally any spare moment, I get quite like obsessive, like any spare moment I had, I was like, bang, research, and I know the half kind of program inside and out now. And I was like, yeah, this is something we can do. This is really, really good. So essentially what it is it's a government-funded initiative that allows, so free school meals are obviously during school time, but there was nothing for the holidays, Easter, Christmas, summer. So obviously there's 6 weeks there where someone may not potentially have access to an abundance of food. Like I always had food at home. I was very, very lucky in that sense. And it's hard to think that some people just don't have that. Now, Marcus Rashford is obviously pushing the free school meals, which is incredible. But then there is obviously 8 to 12 weeks of the year where that isn't then available. So the government have provided this funding to then allow supervised activity during the holidays, during the week, and a nutritious meal as well. So obviously we come on board with providing that nutritious meal, but we back that up with food and nutrition education. So I then do this talk as well, and then we provide follow-on support for the parents. So then the companies they can focus on what they specialize in, which is looking after the kids, doing sport activities. We bring the food. So we bring the food, we bring fruit and veg. We work with the companies to devise a menu that they think will be good for the kids as well as the nutritional value. They get 2 pieces of fruit for break times. They get I've had one of the meals, like I could barely finish. There's a lot of food there. They get a lot of food for then the lunchtime, which is always flooded with vegetables and stuff like that. And we're trying to encourage them to try new things as well. Like this week we sent out a very nice vegetable tagine. Some of the kids tried. Some of the kids tried couscous, and when I went in for a talk, they're like, "Oh my God, I tried your couscous. It was amazing." And it's just seeing the kids open their eyes to just more foods. Obviously nutritionally dense food as well was really, really cool. So yes, it is funded by the government, but obviously by the time you've looked at the ingredients, the chef, the kitchen, the packaging, the transport and stuff, like there isn't a massive margin for it's not a profit making machine.
Nor as it should be, right?
And it shouldn't be, which is frustrating because there are some companies that will they utilize that funding and they don't necessarily pay as much as they maybe could, which is frustrating because it's like, guys, we should collectively come together and make it work for everyone. But yeah, no, so it's not by any sense, it's not a money making machine. It's about like, can we just make this work and break even so that no one's out of pocket? But in the meantime, giving substantial nutritionally dense meals to the kids, backed up with the workshop I do, which then has follow-on stuff for the parents to do. And the council's liaison for the HAP program, I met her for the first time yesterday, and she actually listened to the talk and she said, oh my God, I even learned stuff. This is amazing. But what are you doing for the parents? So we showed her, we told her, and she's like, perfect. She's like, carry on. So yeah, we've hit the nail on the head.
Man, I would agree. It feels like you've really thought about things from multiple angles, and you are having quite literally an impact on your local community. And that's payment in itself, right? Is that there's ways in which we can make money to move forward, but there's ways in which we can use money that supports on a local level without putting you too far out of pocket, other than more of like the time value that's added into that. But man, that is absolutely amazing. And it feels like it often keeps stemming back to that concept of you really enjoying public speaking and your willingness to go and talk in front of other people. I mean, I've seen that you've spoken in front of thousands of people actually now in term, and through some massive companies. What was some of the ones that I didn't write those ones. I had the list of all the different sort of areas that you've been involved in terms of like the media perspective, but you'll be able to tell me in better sense the sort of people that maybe you've spoken to. But what makes you think that platform, that public speaking platform, is sort of the place where you want to be? And is there any sort of key messages that you try to bring across all of your talks? Because I imagine that they serve different purposes, but maybe it comes back to sort of common themes.
Yeah, the common theme is always using food for what we want to get out of it, and stepping away from demonizing foods and actually saying like, yeah, fats are good for you. They're great brain fuel. You have avocado, it's flooded with vitamin A, which is great for your brain. You have carbs, it's great for energy. You want to get stronger, you need carbs. You want to grow muscles, you need protein. It's kind of stepping away from all these stigmas of like protein's going to make a woman bulky. And it's like, listen, love, if it was that easy, I'd be massive. Like, do you know what I mean? I would be absolutely huge by now. It's not that simple. So it's kind of stepping away from that and actually saying like, this is food. This is what it is. We need all of it. Choose what you like eating. Like I'm not a massive fish eater, so I won't eat fish. Simple as that. So when clients are like, oh, but I don't eat this, don't eat it then. Whereas a lot of the time they feel like they have to eat something if they want to get a desired result. It's a case of having a better understanding of what food does for us and the role it plays in our existence, in our growth and everything like that. And then utilizing that for ourselves. So like if you're feeling a bit under the weather, like maybe having a load of fruit and veg, get some nutrients in, that's going to help you to feel better. Or maybe you feel a bit tired when you're in the gym, get some carbs in you before you go. Like it's just having a better understanding of what food is and what it does for us. As much as we like the taste, it's like, yeah, okay, you enjoy that, put that to the side. This is the role it plays. This is how it can benefit you. The biggest talk I do for the companies, for the adults, is improving productivity through nutrition. So then the kids workshop is more about talking food with kids. That's what it's called, talking food. And then the one for the adults is improving productivity through nutrition. So it's like, I'm not saying don't have the chocolate. I'm just saying if you have it at this time, it will do more for you than it will at this time. So it's kind of not saying don't do this, don't do that in terms of like demonizing foods. It's more a case of if you swap that meal there, you'll actually be more productive because you won't have the slump, and then you back it up with graphs and research and stuff to kind of prove to them like, this is why I'm saying it. They go away, they try it, and then I'm inundated with messages of, oh my God, I didn't have a slump at 2 p.m. today and 3 p.m. And it's just helping people get through the day better. So yeah, it's fun. But yeah, those talks, yeah, they're the kind of the ones that I think you're touching on where I had the bigger audiences.
Yeah, but I mean, there's so much value in that, though. I do often think this around nutrition, is that I am always so surprised at the starting point of people and their understanding of nutrition. And it's why I was, very curious to know why you were sort of going into the school environment and sort of leading in that way. And I think what works quite well with what you're doing with Mittfit is that you are looking at nutrition for everybody and actually recognizing that, although there's different nutritional needs and thoughts between those two different age brackets, if you can, launch a younger age with that knowledge, it means that then when you go into sort of conversations with you and those talks again, there's so much there's so much value and purpose in the way in which it can impact your daily life. And it was even the thing that you said there where about even keeping the same meals but actually swapping when certain meals are, it's such a simple move to do, but actually has a massive impact on a person's nutrition and overall well-being. And so obviously you're a clear advocate for nutrition and making sure that you fuel your body correctly. You're a big advocate for sort of the physical exercise as well. So, giving people opportunities to get into better physical shape. But something that you often make reference to in your stories and different posts and things like that is also a willingness to talk to others and to conversate about how you're feeling about certain things, right? And actually having that level of openness, which I completely resonate with and the value of that sense. But certainly something that I've maybe even been questioning myself in more recent times is how do we ensure that we impart that message without it becoming sort of a throwaway tokenistic sentence to, just talk about it? Because sometimes that's great to say, but in practice, how are we helping that person? And is there still value in that phrase?
Yeah. So that's where as anyone who follows me on socials knows that I'm quite open with the bad stuff as well. Typically Instagram is a highlight reel of people's like the best thing that's going on, where I did this, obviously we talked about this mess up I did on Monday, and I did a whole thing about it, and someone I know messaged me saying like, I've had a really tough year, but on my Instagram it looks amazing. And I said, what's been going on? They're like, it's too long for message. I was like, right, I know where they work and I go there a lot. So I said, right, I'm going to come in and we're going to talk about this. Like, if you're sat there telling me that you openly know that your Instagram is flooded with all your highlights, whereas you've told me you've just cried every day for a month, it's like, talk, like find someone to speak to. Like, it's okay, post that good stuff because that good stuff did happen. I'm not demonizing that. I'm not saying don't post the good stuff, but I just very much try to show like I'm not superhuman. Like, I am going through hospital treatment. I am messing up my job. Like, there are things I get wrong as well. Like, I am stressed. Like, I'm just trying to show all the bad stuff as well, so that it's kind of people understand that balance, but giving the real world examples so that it isn't just a throwaway comment of, I just talked to someone. It's kind of like trying to find when people are maybe struggling, or if someone's gone quiet, my friends go quiet, I'll just drop a message like, dude, are you okay? And then it's like, actually, no, I'm not. And it's like, okay, cool. I noticed you were quiet, because they're not typically, they won't come to you. So maybe having the willingness to go to them and just say, look, I am here if you want to talk. If they don't, that's fine. But like, just kind of ensuring it's not a throwaway comment by giving the real world examples of the bad side as well as the good. And as you said, like from my socials, I'm very much kind of preaching that, like always kind of showing the realities of life. And I think, I don't know, does that answer the question?
It does, because what you value, obviously you talk about well-being and things like that. It's that you value or show the value of physical, mental and social well-being, and everything that you do with Mittfit encompasses that in some way, shape or form. And I think, the only reason I asked that question is just that often when something gets picked up on a more mainstream level, right, which a lot of focus around well-being and mental health has over recent years, and rightfully so. I think it's something that needs to be recognized. But sometimes then you start becoming inundated with those sort of that phrasing, go and talk. But what you brought up there is that idea of giving sort of real world example, when you're maybe encouraging on a bigger scale to go and do that you're giving real world examples and saying, right, well, look, this was something that happened to me, or this is something that happened to this particular person, and this was the outcome because they ended up having this conversation. And then also I think it shows it's testament back to your personality, in the sense that you're then willing to, when you ask that question, that you're willing to go and see your friend, you're willing to engage in those moments. Because sometimes people ask that question without actually being ready to receive the response. So yeah, and I just think it's an interesting world and area to be focused in on, but it's so great to have advocates such as yourself promoting the right things across, diet and nutrition, across exercise and community sort of elements. So my last question for you, and this was based on actually where this podcast was originally going to be, but I ended up keeping this in just because it's something that I really value and I'm wanting to find out more about from others. But obviously your positive energy is bringing together a number of like-minded people to make some positive changes. But in your opinion, what does community mean to you, and what would you potentially like to see Mittfit maybe do in the future to create that further sense of belonging and community?
Community to me is it doesn't matter size, shape, race, gender, like ethnicity, none of that matters. You're just a selective group of humans in one place that are reaching the same goal. And that's something that sport taught me. Being part of a football team, like there's 11 of you on a pitch, like you have to play together, you have to work together. We went one season where it was a brand new league and we played 20-1-20, and we took the league, we took the 2 cups as well. But we had an incredible group of individuals, but it was the coming together and the playing together and working hard as a team in training, outside of training and in the games that won us the league. And for me, community is exactly that. It doesn't matter who you are, what you are, like work together, be there for each other, kind of remove all of that and just be you. That's kind of where it is for me. And I want to take it globally. I really want to push on. I think that kind of a lot of stuff happened in my personal life coming out of the lockdown, which kind of stunted the growth of Mittfit in a way. Which I kind of, it's not necessarily a missed opportunity, because I feel like it's a sliding door. One thing happens, another thing this kind of happens for a reason. But the collective goal has always been to become a global brand. Just purely not from a monetary basis, just I want to touch as many lives as I can. I want to leave a legacy. It might sound quite egotistical, but I want people to say my life was better because Joe was in it, because Mittfit was in it. That for me is kind of where I want to be, because my life is infinitely better because they're in it. The best part of my week is being there with my clients. Do you know what I mean? It's like they were taking a piss yesterday. I don't even know if I can say that word, but basically I've got the most horrendous t-shirt tan.
Tan.
Yeah, and one of the clients said, "Where have you been?" I said, "No, it's just from work." And he said, "By work you mean walking up and down?" And I was like, yeah, but just having that freedom to kind of just completely embarrass me in front of everyone. And it just sounds so small, but just having those people in my life I for me personally think I had the best life ever because of the people I get to work with. So it's in my way, I want to then flip that and I want to give that back to them. I want them to be happy and grateful and have a better life because I was in it. And that for me, it's community. And I said it's family. Family isn't just blood. Family is how you relate to someone. And there's friendships that have been forged through Mittfit, which I see them going out and doing stuff together and having great times. And I think that never would have happened if it wasn't for Mittfit. And it's kind of that impact on a community level, on a localized level. And I want to kind of nationalize and globalize that and touch as many lives as possible.
Well, it definitely feels like you're moving in that direction, man. Honestly, but first of all, thank you so much for coming and having a chat today. It's been just great to hear in more depth some of the things that you're doing as my voice starts to give way. But man, it's just, I love what you're doing in the educational setting. I love that you're really pushing the public speaking, getting involved in businesses. And I love what you're doing for your Mittfit community. So yeah, man, I wish you all the best of luck going forward. And, make sure you check out a little bit more of Mittfit. I'm going to put I'll put all the links to all the Instagram stuff in the post down here. But yeah, thank you so much for your time, buddy.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and if you want any more sort of podcasts like this, and I'm definitely going to be leaning into these a little bit more in the coming months. I get such an energy from this experience. But do make sure you follow Serotonin Sessions on Instagram and have a little look on our YouTube for the other bits that we've done. But for now, we'll see you later on.